Hi everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we are doing the horoscopes for June 2023. We are halfway through the year and there is a lot going on in June. We have an adventurous full moon in Sagittarius, a confusing new moon in Gemini, a very rare meetup between the North Node and Jupiter, and as well as that, Saturn and Neptune go retrograde in Pisces, Pluto re-enters Capricorn, Mercury finally gets out of Taurus and enters Gemini, and Venus is in Leo for the summer. So this is going to be quite a packed month. So the timestamps are listed below. As always, I suggest you watch your ascendant sign for the most accurate results. You can also watch your sun sign as well, particularly if you don't know your rising sign. And as well as that, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for regular updates, and if you do want to contact me, the information is in the description box. So without further ado, let's get into the horoscopes for June 2023. If you want to view a June 2023 energy reading with me, that is linked at my Patreon. I hope you have a wonderful month and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Aries, welcome to June 2023. Let's get stuck in. One of the things that I think you're going to be quite excited about, Aries, is the fact that Venus is entering Leo on the 5th and will be there for the summer, making this for you truly a summer of love, because Leo is your romantic, playful 5th house and Venus rules your relationship sector. So it's entirely possible that this summer, Aries, if you're single, you may meet somebody new. It may also be because Venus will retrograde, although that is later on, that you reconnect with an old lover or someone you used to date. This is definitely going to be a very romantic summer for you, Aries, and if it's not romance you're looking for, this might be a summer where if you have children, you spend more time with your kids, you spend more time enjoying life with your children, perhaps enjoying them being off school for the summer, finding more fun and playfulness in your life. You may also find that you have, if you're a creative, some creative collaborations going on in your life, Aries. But Venus entering Leo for such a long time is definitely going to bring a romantic, playful energy to your life for the foreseeable. Now we have a rare meetup between Jupiter and the North Node in Taurus on the 1st of June. This energy is going to last for a few days, so do pay attention to this, because it may be that there are some destined opportunities coming for you and growth and abundance and expansion when it comes to your money and your finances. New opportunities to make money. It might also increase your confidence. On the 3rd or the 4th of June, depending where you are, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, and this is bringing adventure to you, Aries. So whether or not you are wrapping up or getting results within a university or higher education program, or you're taking a trip, this looks to be very favored for you, Aries, because with Mars being your ruler and it being in your 5th house, it feels as though you've been putting a lot of energy into enjoying yourself, into finding fun and finding love in what it is that you do. And this seems to be paying off in terms of adventure, your philosophy, your optimism, your outlook on life, or perhaps the love and the joy that you've been putting into learning or studying something. Pluto's going to retrograde back into Capricorn on the 11th. So when it comes to your career and your long-term goals, you're doing a final clear out. What's not working for you? What's holding you back? What is unhealthy in your career? What is taking away your feeling of power? Taking away your feeling of control? This might also be for some of you, your fame starts growing again with Pluto being there. Pluto typically brings fame a lot of the time when it transits the 10th house for some people, or at least being well known in your field or your industry, or making big career changes. But there could be some career changes yet to come for you, Aries, as Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn. So pay attention to what's coming up around the 11th, especially conversations, because that day Mercury does enter your 3rd house after doing a long stint in your 2nd. So with Mercury now being in your 3rd house, Mercury loves being in Gemini, Mercury loves transiting the 3rd house. So you may find that communication is easier, just thinking is easier, processing your thoughts much easier, and you may notice that there's a bit more clarity in conversation around the 11th. So perhaps in terms of your career, Aries, you're noticing or having very important thoughts on what it is that you'd like to do next or what you'd like to change. Now, in saying that, Mercury is going to square Neptune on the 25th, so do watch out for miscommunication that day, the day before, the day after, maybe a couple of days, either side. Saturn and Neptune are both going to go retrograde in your 12th house, which is very sleepy. So you may be feeling extra tired around the 17th as Saturn goes retrograde and you readjust to this energy. With Saturn in the 12th house, it's a tough transit, I have to say, because it can make you have to mature and take responsibility for your own healing. And sometimes that can be through revisiting the past with the 12th house and what is in there, what's in your unconscious driving the show. Sometimes your dreams can be disturbing, and it can really make you very aware of anything deep down that is going on with you. You know, the way the unconscious becomes conscious with the 12th house, you become very aware of what it is that is silently and mysteriously driving you, that is out of your control to a sense. So with Saturn and Neptune going retrograde in Pisces in your 12th house, you're revisiting your commitment to your healing. You're revisiting your commitment to things like sleep, getting better sleep, better mental health care, taking responsibility for your wellness, mentally more speaking, spiritually. And with Neptune going retrograde there, it's almost like with Saturn, you're revisiting your responsibilities and your commitments. With Neptune, you're kind of taking off the rose-tinted glasses. So maybe if you've been engaging in some sort of healing practice or something, you know, medication-wise or something like that, you're sort of now looking at it a bit differently. There could be a bit of a change of heart or awareness when it comes to your 12th house. And your dreams could be very odd around the 30th too, with Neptune being going retrograde there. Now there's a new moon in your 3rd house on the 18th. It is around the time that the sun is squaring Neptune. So this new moon is squaring Neptune as well. And you may find that you are beginning a new way of thinking. Perhaps you're wanting to learn something new. You're wanting to get the facts on something going forward. Maybe it's a new project. Maybe it's a new neighbor. Maybe it is a new beginning with a sibling. Maybe it is something within your neighborhood. Or maybe it is something new that you're learning. With the square to Neptune, there's a bit of confusion there. And you might not be getting the whole picture with whatever it is that you're signing up for. So do try and trust your intuition around this time, Aries. The sun enters your 4th house at the solstice. And you're going to be wanting to spend more time at home, to work on your home, to make your space pleasant, to spend more time with your family. These are the areas where you're getting lit up, Aries. Now, some notable mentions around the full moon in Sagittarius. We do have a Mercury-Uranus conjunction, surprising news, perhaps shocking events when it comes to your finances, your banks, your money, or you might also have genius ideas when it comes to your money, making money, and also in terms of your confidence. You might be having some sort of epiphany, or you might be getting some news that makes you aware that your values have shifted in some way, shape, or form, Aries. There is a Venus-Pluto opposition on the 5th as well that I want you to pay attention to, because Venus will just have entered your 5th house of love and romance, opposite Pluto in your 11th house. You may have a bit of a power struggle with perhaps your long-term vision with a romantic interest, or perhaps you're dating someone and your friends don't get it. There seems to be a power struggle between your romantic house, your romantic life, and your social life, your friends, and your vision for the future, Aries. Another unpredictable date for you is the 26th, when your ruler Mars in your 5th house squares Uranus in your 2nd. You could be feeling quite irritable, you could be feeling quite angry, you could be feeling quite triggered perhaps by something financially, or perhaps to do with your values, or maybe there is a bit of an argument when it comes to perhaps spending on your children, money surrounding children, or perhaps values with your children, or perhaps money and values surrounding romantic interest or your creative life, Aries. But that is what I have for you in June. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to June. So Taurus, 1st of June, let's start with the fact that Jupiter and the North Node are conjunct in your sign. This is incredibly rare. It doesn't happen very often. And to have it happen in your sign is very blessed and very auspicious. So this is something that you should be welcoming. Perhaps you may feel infused with the feeling of optimism, of hope, of faith, and of growth. You may be wanting to explore. You may be wanting to spread your wings. If you're not feeling it right away on the 1st, do give it a couple of days until the Sagittarius full moon. Because when this conjunction happens, the moon will actually be in Scorpio, and it will be with the South Node. So you may not necessarily be feeling it so much, but it will grow as the days go forward. You will be feeling this energy for a few days. So you might be finding an opportunity in life just by being you. You might find that you're more magnetic, you're more attractive to blessings. And if you don't feel it right away, it might be that you're actually committing to learning something new about yourself, or expanding and changing your vision about yourself and your lifestyle, Taurus. We do have that full moon in Sagittarius on the 3rd. I do have a full video up on that. But on the same day, Mercury and Uranus are conjunct in, again, you guessed it, your sign. So you might have some news that's going to shock everybody, surprise everybody. You might have a really epiphany based thought. You might have an epiphany. Is a better way of saying that. You might have an epiphany of the way you want to take your life, the direction you want to go in. You might have an epiphany of what you want to shake off, what you want to change, what you want to revolutionize, the changes that you want to make. And with this full moon being in the 8th house, you might want to shake off a fear. You might want to shake off something that is no longer serving you, not working for you. The full moon in the 8th house is when we let go of something. Usually on a psychological level, it's really good for shadow work. So if you are leaning into that and getting curious, you might have a real epiphany where you're like, I'm not bound by this anymore. I'm not restricted by this anymore. I don't relate to this version of myself anymore. I'm not who I used to be, and you're feeling excited about the new changes, the new optimism, the new beginning and the new epiphanies. But you yourself with this full moon may have something you want to announce or say or get off your chest that could surprise people around you. Venus is entering, I had to draw a breath there. Venus is entering your 4th house on the 5th. Venus is your ruler. So Venus is going to be doing a very long stay in Leo the whole way through the summer. To have your ruler in the 4th house for so long, a lot of what you're going to be focusing on, where you want to bring beauty, is to your home. So Taurus, I feel for you, you might be redecorating this summer, you might be restyling, some of you might be moving to a place that really suits you, suits who you are, suits the environment that you want. You could be moving home, you could be decorating your home in a style that matches you better. I will do a full video on the Venus retrograde cycle because the dates of the Venus retrograde, I wouldn't recommend redecorating or buying things. I do recall having a Venus retrograde in my 4th house back in 2020 during the height of everything, and I bought some things which, decorating style, which just were really not me. I look back at them and think that was odd. It was very different. It was odd, but it's taken a while to rehome those things. But anyway, I just wouldn't recommend buying things, aesthetically speaking, for your home in that time period. But until then, I do think this is a time where you're going to be redecorating. Venus retrograde is actually a time to redo, so you might want to repaint the walls, whatever color they used to be, for example. But until the retrograde, I think for this month in June, it would be a good time to invest more in your home or figure out what you want your home to look like, your environment, and how to bring beauty to your home. Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn on the 11th, and for you, Taurus, this is your 9th house of belief systems. I feel like you're doing a final clear out on your viewpoints of the world. This can be politically, this can be religiously, this can be just your personal philosophy. Whatever way that you're viewing the world, whatever way you relate to travel, even if you have fears or phobias related to traveling, to education, you're doing a final clear out on what no longer works for you in your Capricorn sector. So that's travel, that's education, that is adventure, that is belief systems. Mercury finally leaves your sign on the 11th after its extended stay, and Mercury in your 2nd house, Taurus, is meaning that you're going to be talking more about money, learning more about money, learning more about the money you make, how to invest it, how to make it, these kind of things. You're thinking about money a little bit more in June. Now Mercury is going to do a speedy transit of Gemini. In fact, it leaves there on the 26th when it enters Cancer, which is going to make you very chatty, really wanting to have some intellectually stimulating conversations. But until then, your mind is on your money. Saturn and Neptune are both going retrograde this month in Pisces. Saturn on the 17th and Neptune on the 30th. To have two retrogrades happening in your 11th house, I feel like you're revisiting your commitments to certain friendships, to certain goals for the future. You might realize certain people in your social circle were not who you thought they were. They're not who you hoped they were. Because you're taking off the rose-tinted glasses, but it can also make you very aware of who are your ride or die friendships, and also what dreams you really feel you could actually commit to and make happen, Taurus. New moon in your 2nd house on the 18th. You might not like this one this much because it is a wonderful time to set intentions for money when we have a new moon in the 2nd house, financially get clarity about what we want to manifest financially or what we want to put our mind to, but it's squaring Neptune in your 11th house. So it feels as though if you're going to make financial decisions or investments, I don't think your friends are the people that have the answer. And I think you might also be confused about what your future looks like around that time, in terms of your values and what you want to call in around the 18th. 17th, 18th, 19th, just be kind of careful of making any big decisions financially, because I don't think you have all the information, and I think you might be feeling a little bit disillusioned with the future. So just in terms of your finances, Taurus, you know this, you're very steady, but this new moon might make you want to perhaps purchase something or buy something that you might look at in a few months and think, why did I do that? Unless it's esoteric or it's spiritual, Taurus, you might find those are calling you around the time of this new moon. But nevertheless, I think it's a good time to set intentions. Just be a bit more open with them with the square to Neptune. The sun enters your third house on the 21st at the solstice, meaning that you're going to be feeling, particularly when Mercury goes in there on the 26th, you're going to want to have a lot more conversations, talking, you want to stay up late at night talking to somebody, you want to have more conversations, you want to learn, you want more information, you want to read more books. These are what is going to light you up from the 21st specifically, Taurus. Other things to mention this month, that on the 5th, there's a bit of a power struggle between Venus and Pluto. Venus will be in your 4th house of home and family. Pluto will be in your 10th house of career, your public image, Taurus. So the way that I'm sort of seeing this is there's a bit of work-life balance not going so well. Maybe you want to be spending more time at home, or you want to be investing more time in your home or spending more time with your family, and you have a boss that's saying, no, I need you here. Watch for a bit of fifth house. Watch on the 5th of June for a bit of 4th house, 10th house intensity, a bit of a power struggle, which I feel like with Venus being in your 4th house and Venus being your ruler and Pluto ruling, in a modern sense, your 7th house of relationships, I do feel like this is really you against one person who's maybe grasping for power. I will say, I feel as though with Venus being your ruler and it being in Leo for an extended stay, this might be a wider conversation for you about how you do assert yourself and how you do stand up for yourself against people that seem to have more power than you. But if there is a way to balance the conflicting needs, that would be the best case scenario, Taurus. As always, with Venus being your ruler, go at it with grace and a bit of compromise, I think, with this person or this corporation or whatever it is, Taurus. Do watch for the 26th. It's a bit angry and unpredictable with Mars in your 4th house squaring Uranus in your 1st. You might have family that push your buttons or aggravate you around the 26th. So just forewarned is forearmed. Sometimes if you know to slow down a little bit, or you know that the energies are riling things up, you can approach it with a much more calm, balanced perspective. That is what I have for you, Taurus, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to June, and a very, very happy birthday, Gemini, to all of those celebrating their birthday in June. And if I missed you in May, belated happy birthday, Gemini. So Gemini, the 1st of June, the 1st of the month, Jupiter is going to be conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Now, in one way, this seems to be connecting, I think, a lot of you to perhaps a spiritual guide or a spiritual mentor, someone who's going to help you navigate the spiritual realms, your belief systems. It might also be that you connect with someone who is a bit of a healer, someone who's going to help you heal, whether that be, a medical professional in the traditional sense or whether that be a holistic sense. I feel like a lot of you could be coming into contact with someone who's really going to help you navigate the unseen, the things that you can really only feel rather than see to understand, if that makes sense, Gemini. With Jupiter being the ruler of your 7th house, I do feel like this is a person. This is someone who's going to help you balance. This is someone who's going to teach you something that you don't necessarily know or you're not necessarily aware of or comes naturally to you. But these are destined, if there's a person that comes in that sort of sense, Gemini, they're destined and they're there for your soul's growth. We do have a full moon on the 3rd in your 7th house, which is bringing illumination and clarity to your relationships, to your partnership sector. It is supported by Mars and it is squared by Saturn. I do have a full video up on this, but it feels as though, Gemini, you might be getting some clarity when it comes to your relationship in your life. With the trine to Mars, I feel like this is positive. I feel like this can be very positive, active, dynamic conversations, bringing illumination and clarity to a partnership in your life, whether that's a spouse, whether that's a boyfriend, whether that is a best friend or a business partner. I feel like there is a bit of adventure at foot with your connections, Gemini. Now, Venus is going to enter Leo, which is your 3rd house of communication. And it's going to be there right up until the end of the summer, going into the autumn time. So with Venus being in your third house for so long, you're going to find the beauty in conversations, the beauty in books, the beauty in learning. If you find love, it might be someone in your neighborhood. It might be someone that your sibling introduces you to or your cousin introduces you to. It could be someone who perhaps you meet in a workshop or something like that. That can be where you find love and you find beauty for this summer, Gemini. So if that's something you're looking for, bear in mind those are the best ways to find it. Pluto is retrograding back into Capricorn. So for you, that this is going to go back into your 8th house. You're doing a final clear out when it comes to fears, phobias, things that you really need to let go of, that you might start to wonder, why am I still clinging to this? You might have to address old things in terms of shadow work that you thought you'd dealt with, and they sort of come back up for reinvestigation to do your final clear out of this era that has been going since 2008. Your ruler Mercury in the same day does enter your sign. So I feel like you are really getting back into yourself, Gemini. It's been in your 12th house for such a long time. Had the retrograde cycle. You've been doing so much internal work. I have to be honest, I don't know that many Gemini risings in my life. It's maybe because I'm a Pisces rising. I don't come into contact with them too regularly. The only one I know is my dad. But I feel as though perhaps there is some, sense of coming back into yourself with Mercury going into your sign, because Mercury is its happiest in your sign, and you might be feeling more yourself, more chatty, more conversational, feeling like you're getting a bit of bounce back in your step, a bit of energy, and you're feeling a bit more like yourself is the way that I see that happening. Now, in saying that, on the 17th and the 30th, we have Saturn and Neptune. Saturn the 17th, Neptune the 30th, going retrograde in your 10th house, Gemini. So with this retrograde, with Saturn in particular, you're revisiting your commitments when it comes to your work, when it comes to your goals, when it comes to your career, how seriously you're taking your public life, your professional life, and your goals. You're revisiting these. You might want to let some go, but you're also taking off the rose-tinted glasses. This is a little sobering, so you might start to think, you were very excited about something career-wise, now you're realizing, why am I excited about this? This is, a pipe dream. This isn't really going to happen. You're getting very clear about what you're going to commit to and work on with Saturn, and you're also getting very clear about what is actually just, fantasy and doesn't make any sense for you with Neptune. We have a new moon in your sign on the 18th in your first house. I feel like if you want to make an image change, do err on the side of caution, because with the square to Neptune, this might not be something that necessarily benefits your public image. So maybe you get this really strong desire to dye your hair fluorescent pink, and you are a lawyer and you go into work, and your clients and your boss and everybody's looking at you sort of like, well, why did you do that? And you really love it, and then you see everyone's reaction and you think, actually, this is really not a good idea or something like that. Although I don't see why you couldn't, have pink hair and be a lawyer, but it's just, that's an interesting example of something. It's the first thing I could think of, with it being a new beginning in your first house, your image, and then the 10th house square, confusing energy with Neptune, your public image. It's like they just might not be matching so well. So whatever you're deciding to do around this time, it might be best to do it for your private life rather than your professional life, or something that you could perhaps hide in a professional setting, such as like a tattoo, under a shirt or something like that. If you were getting these things, I do feel with the square to Neptune, this might be a bit confusing, or you might not necessarily be thinking clearly when it comes to your professional life or your goals. Just a warning. Because the sun in your sign around that time is also going to be squaring Neptune, and with the sun ruling your thought process and being in your first house, I just think you might not necessarily be thinking so clearly, Gemini. Now the sun leaves your sign on the solstice, enters Cancer, your second house. So you're going to be lit up by things like money, possessions, material. You might want to shop more during this time. You might want to make more money. You might be more focused on your money. That seems to be what is lighting you up, but it's also giving you a confidence boost, Gemini, I will say. It's also giving you a confidence boost, and perhaps you're wanting to show up more, feel more confident, particularly possibly professionally. Now, do watch on the 4th of June for the Mercury-Uranus conjunction happening in your 12th house. I feel like you're getting a sign from the universe. I feel like you're getting a psychic dream or premonition or clarity spiritually, or a really amazing tarot reading that just completely makes sense of what it is that you're experiencing, or an astrology reading or whatever it is. With that conjunction, it's very spiritual for you, so you might be having some unexpected clarity when it comes to your spiritual life or even your healing journey, Gemini. There's a power struggle with Venus and Pluto on the 5th. Venus will be in your 3rd house of communication. It's also siblings, neighbours, aunts and uncles, cousins, opposing Pluto, which will still be in Aquarius at that time. For you, Gemini, which is your 9th house of your higher vision, of travel, of university. It kind of feels like this might just be a clash with somebody about knowledge, opinions. But it can also be that perhaps if you're making travel plans with a sibling or a neighbour, you could clash with them on that, or it could be that you clash with one of your neighbours over politics or religion or something like that. So do watch for that day, because there could be a pretty intense power struggle going on. And on the 26th, with Mars being square Uranus, there could be unpredictable anger coming out. You could find that you're perhaps encountering someone in your neighborhood or around you that lashes out at you verbally, and you really don't know where it came from. And perhaps with Uranus being in your 12th house, you realize that maybe this person has some stuff going on psychologically. Perhaps they have something going on from a mental health perspective that you weren't aware of, and it comes out at anger directed towards you, or someone in your life that is struggling with something might lash out at you around the 26th. So just watch for that. It's a good day to lay low because it's very eruptive. And with you, Gemini, on the 18th, with the sun in your 1st house squaring Neptune in your 10th, and then your ruler Mercury on the 25th in your 1st house squaring Neptune in your 10th, I do feel like there is a little bit of confusion when it comes to facts, and it might actually be coming from, misunderstandings. There's a bit of a Mercury retrograde energy around the 25th where facts are not clear between you perhaps and your boss, so there could be misunderstandings at work, and that's just something to be aware of. Double check everything as best as you can. You're a sign that likes facts, you like logic, so if all is not as it seems, trust that it is not all as it seems. But that's what I have for you. Hope you have a beautiful June. Happy birthday again, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to June. Happy birthday to all the Cancers who are celebrating their birthday in June. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful solar return. So Cancer, where do we start? So for you, one of the highlights of this month, of course, is the sun entering your sign on the 21st. And when the sun does enter your sign on the 21st, it is then going to trine 7 days later on the 28th, Saturn in Pisces. So to have the sun in your 1st house, it's giving you a lot of confidence, it's giving you a lot of energy. And it's trining Saturn in your 9th house. So it's almost as if you might be learning something or seeing the higher picture, the higher vision through the lens of somebody else, because Saturn rules your 7th house of relationships. Perhaps you're taking a trip with a partner, perhaps you are going to be connecting with someone on a philosophical level, and this is really lighting you up. There seems to be a nice interplay going on between you, yourself, and your relationship with someone, and your philosophy together, or your travel experience, or learning together. So that could be, for example, if you're studying, you have a really good conversation with your lecturer, your mentor, or whatever that is. Or if you're traveling with a partner, the 20th might be a really nice day for you too. Other things that we have going on this month, let's go back to the 1st of the month because we've skipped right ahead. But Jupiter is conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Now for you, Cancer, this is happening in your 11th house. There could be destined friendships coming into your life. There could be people who are coming into your life that you're going to consider soul tribe. They're going to help you grow. They're going to help you expand. It's very positive with Jupiter here. It's very rare. So I feel as though when it comes to your friendships and your social connections, you're being pointed in the right direction. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, great times for you to be out networking and meeting people. But it can come to you, on social media in the 11th. And if you're into social media, you might be finding that there's a lot of growth in your following or your reach around that time. There's a full moon in Sagittarius, which is your 6th house on the 3rd. So the sun is in your 12th house. It's kind of sleepy. It's kind of reflective. You're kind of taking more downtime, more time to yourself. You know, even though you have a lot going on in your 11th house as well, which is very social, but sometimes the sun being in your 12th house can be quite sleepy. And when the sun is in our 12th house, we have the corresponding full moon in the 6th. And this illuminates your relationship to your health, this relationship to your diet, this relationship to your routines, what's working. And with Mars being in your 2nd house, I feel like you're more driven, or your energy is going towards perhaps making money, perhaps also, you know, putting energy into things that matter to you, that are important, that you truly value. They're not meaningless, for example. And this might also be illuminating a job change. You might be wrapping up some sort of cycle or chapter when it comes to your job, whatever phase that you've been in for the last 6 months. It might be something that's being wrapped up in June. Venus is entering Leo on the 5th and will be there for the whole summer. So Venus in your 2nd house for the whole summer is quite lovely, because Venus enjoys the 2nd house. It's about making money. It's about buying things that you consider beautiful. It's about feeling abundant, feeling more luxury in your life. And I'm not saying this from a materialistic point of view. It's just that you might be more, you might find more joy in being comfortable. Cancer is the way that I see this. But also with Venus, you can buy things that are perhaps really beautiful. For you, with Venus, I sort of feel as though it might be that perhaps you get a really beautiful gift from a friend, because Venus rules your 11th house. So perhaps you're getting a really beautiful gift from a friend. Perhaps you're getting a really beautiful gift from a family member, with Venus also ruling your 4th this month, Cancer. Pluto is retrograding back on the 11th into your relationship sector. So if you have any fears surrounding relationships, or some shadow work to do surrounding relationships, this is going to be something that comes back into your life. It's a final clear out, it's a final purge when it comes to perhaps fears, controls, when it comes to your relationships. Say there's some, belief system you have that is dominating your relationship life, and so it keeps repeating. You're going to want to counter that with Pluto going here. You're going to want to dig deep and root through that stuff that you have been digging deep and rooting through and experiencing since 2008. Mercury is going to go into your 12th house, so that's also happening on the 11th. Just be mindful of this, because it is going to be making squares to your 9th house, Cancer. I feel as though when it comes to your relationship to the divine, to the spiritual, you might actually find that, because there is going to be a lot of confusing squares between Mercury and the Sun to Neptune in your 9th, you might actually find there's a bit of confusion, there's a bit of disillusionment at times. Maybe you're thinking, am I being naive? Is this my intuition speaking, or is this my fear speaking? Is this my intuition speaking, or is this wishful thinking? Whatever it is, there could be a bit of confusion going forward with Mercury being in your 12th house. I feel like with Mercury in the 12th house, you're very well advised to pay attention to your dreams and what is coming up for you during the short stay. Enters your sign in the 26th, where you might be feeling exceptionally chatty going forward, Cancer, and then you start to, pardon the pun, but come out of your shell a little bit. With Saturn retrograde in your 9th house on the 17th, you're revisiting your commitments to your studies, your higher education, perhaps your travel arrangements, and perhaps your worldview and your belief system. Neptune retrograde in Pisces on the 30th, you're taking off your rose-tinted glasses to the aforementioned, to the same things. As I say, the Sun enters your sign on the 21st, lighting you up. You're getting more energy back. But we do have a very sleepy new moon in your 12th house on the 18th, as I said before, squaring Neptune in your 9th. So there's a new beginning in your spiritual sector. You might be feeling a bit confused when it comes to a mental health perspective. You might also be wondering how much your relationship to divination or faith or philosophy or religion is helping or hindering you, and you're trying to remedy the two. It's dynamic. Squares are dynamic. We can get quite a lot out of them if we lean into their differences, understand their similarities, and then make changes accordingly. This might push you to reevaluate your relationship to your mental health and your faith, because sometimes those guys don't get on so well. If you've ever done a tarot reading, a pick a card reading or anything, when you're in a really bad mood, you'll understand what I mean. Venus is going to oppose Pluto on the 5th, and Venus being in the 2nd house of finances opposite Pluto, which will still at that time be in Aquarius. It feels as though with Pluto being in your 8th house, Venus being in your second, there might be some sort of financial power struggle going on between you and someone that you have a joint financial relationship with. So be that, you know, the government, be that a partner, be that to do with a mortgage or a loan or something like that. There could be a bit of a power struggle and something to work out. It could be kind of intense. Do watch for the 26th of June, Cancer, because Mars in Leo will square Uranus in Taurus, and there can be anger and unpredictability. And I feel like for you, it might come from a friend where you might disagree on values, or say you're out for dinner and you both want to pay the tab, you might actually get into a fight about it, or a fight over the bill. If you've ever seen Father Ted, I'm sure a lot of you haven't, but Father Ted is this really amazing show. It's Irish, and there is this scene where Mrs. Doyle, who is the housekeeper, she is out for lunch with one of her friends, and they both actually get into a full-blown fight over the bill. And it's an amazing scene if you want to look it up for a laugh. In fact, if you just want to look into Father Ted in general, if you haven't seen it, you really are missing out. It's a fantastic show. But that is what I have for you, Cancer. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Leo. Welcome to June. So, Leo, big news for you this month, because Venus is going to enter your sign in the 5th and is going to be spending the whole summer there. So Leo, when it comes to your aesthetic, when it comes to you in general, you're going to be radiating beauty. You're going to be finding the best clothes to wear, and by best I mean the best for your aesthetic. They're going to suit you. You're going to feel good in them. The best makeup if you wear makeup, hair care in particular. You're going to get great haircuts. Not during the Venus retrograde period. I will have a video up on that, but for June, it's a wonderful time to get a haircut. It's a wonderful time for you to invest in hair care, to, you know, if you want to dye your hair, if you want to get a haircut with Venus being in your first house, especially it being in the sign of Leo, which is to do with the mane. I feel like it's a wonderful time for you to do that. As I say, not during the retrograde dates, but in June, when Venus enters your sign, it's a great time for glow up energy. This is going to be a very glowy summer for you, Leo, so that is something to look forward to, especially because Venus rules your 10th house, so you might be finding yourself getting more attention at work, or perhaps getting more recognition when it comes to your career especially. And actually, when it comes to your career, do look out on the 1st of June, a few days before, a few days after, because there is going to be a conjunction between Jupiter and the North Node in your 10th house of career, your public image, your professional life. You can have destined opportunities when it comes to your career. You can also be finding that you're attracting a new boss who's going to help you progress to where you want to go, or a new career mentor or life coach or something like that. It's great for your career growth, but also your soul growth in general. You know, your public life, whatever it is that you work at, or if you don't work, whatever you're known for effectively, Leo. There's a full moon on the 3rd in Sagittarius. This is bringing illumination to your 5th house, where you might find yourself falling in love. You might find yourself pursuing someone romantically, because it's trine Mars in your 1st. You might find yourself being very creative, being very showcasing your art, perhaps, with this being in your 5th house. Or you might also find that something comes up with a child. Maybe you feel like you've been trying to get through to a child in your life, and you really get through to them, and they make you very proud with this full moon at their wisdom. Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn on the 11th, so there's this final clear out going in your 6th house, Leo. Your relationship, what has become toxic when it comes to your health, what is toxic when it comes to your wellness, your routine. That could be, for example, a complete commitment to eating clean and then ending up feeling very malnourished or something like that. Just to give an example, I'm not saying these are what's going to happen, but it's an example to help you understand the theme. It might also be any toxicity related to your work, your colleagues, or your employees, or something like that, Leo. You might be doing a final clear out, a final reevaluation. Mercury enters Gemini the same day, and this is going to really light up your social life. You're going to be having great conversations with friends. They could get a bit confusing when it comes to matters perhaps of the occult or perhaps psychology, because they are going to square Neptune. You might find your knowledge triggers people. Just watch out for that, Leo. You might be talking about something and someone might suddenly, in a way that's completely confusing to you, take it the wrong way, and you don't know what's happened. Effectively. There's going to be a Saturn retrograde on the 17th, or Saturn goes retrograde on the 17th, stations retrograde on the 17th, in Pisces, your 8th house, and Neptune goes retrograde in your 8th house on the 30th. Just bear in mind that you're revisiting commitments when it comes to your joint finances, be that a spouse, be that a partner, like a mortgage or taxes or something like that. You're revisiting your commitments. You're sort of, considering what needs to be refined here, what do we need to recommit to, what do we need to reassess. With Neptune, you're taking off the rose-tinted glasses. You're sort of like, okay, need to take a more realistic perspective on this. There might have been something that you just weren't paying attention to and you think, how did I miss that? But now you get it, now you're revisiting it. With the 8th house, perhaps that is also your relationship to the occult. Perhaps you have been you've not been noticing certain things that maybe weren't working so well for you, or maybe were actually hindering you a little bit rather than helping you. Everything has its good and its bad points. So with Neptune, we just typically take off the rose-tinted glasses and see some things a bit differently to how we saw them prior. I spent a long time, like a really long transit of Neptune on my ascendant, and when it got off, there were certain things I'm just like, I don't understand what I was thinking, but that's Neptune. Draw a breath. New moon in Gemini on the 18th. Just talking about the Gemini things is making me speak at a million miles an hour. But the new moon in your friendship sector, Leo, there could be new friends come in. Now, be careful, because you might not necessarily find you're connecting with new social groups of people who are necessarily the most obvious characters. They're not necessarily straightforward. You don't necessarily know where you stand with them. You don't necessarily know what they're into. You could actually, just a forewarning, connect with people who are not good influences, especially if you are someone who is perhaps practicing sobriety, or perhaps someone who is trying to get in the straight and narrow with something. You could find yourself connecting with people who are very escapist in nature or illusionists in nature. You could actually make friends with a magician though, so that'd be kind of cool. The sun enters your sleepy 12th house on the 21st, and you might find that you want to retreat a little bit, maybe go on a retreat. The sun does rule your first house, so when it's in your 12th, you're more likely to sleep more, to need some time to process your emotions, to need some time to heal, to need some time to reflect. Look for exciting or surprising news when it comes to your career on the 4th of June. There is a power struggle, Leo, between you and a partner or a relationship, a key relationship in your life on the 5th. When Venus in your first house opposes Pluto in your 7th, you might find a bit of a power struggle going on between you and a partner, perhaps to do with your career goals, perhaps to do with what you consider to be beautiful, the way you're styling or decorating a home, or just you feel like they're doing something that's a bit controlling or just not letting you be yourself or express yourself. They might also get jealous if perhaps you're looking really good. Take that as it resonates, to your situation. But that is what I have for you in June. I will say, do watch out for your own anger on the 26th with Mars in your sign square Uranus in the 10th. There could be an unpredictable argument in your workplace or with a boss or an authority figure. So that is a time to watch out for that, because it could escalate quite quickly, and it could escalate very quickly. With Mars being in your sign squaring Uranus, it could be an unpredictable lash out. So try and lay low. Forewarned is forearmed. I'm not saying it's to be negative, but I did have an experience this month. I have natally got, by transit, Uranus opposing my Mars this month. And there was, just to give you an example, Uranus being in my 3rd house of transport, a very significant near miss due to somebody else's driving. So I will just say, it can, but the reason it wasn't so bad, I feel, is because I had that understanding and I was able to slow down. With Mars being in your 1st house and Uranus being in the 10th, just watch out for someone in the workplace or an authority figure who might be on the warpath or acting very unpredictably or out of character, and it might make you very angry. So just forewarned is forearmed to take those deep breaths and prepare yourself in case someone is being out of character or something like that, Leo. Again, not to spread negativity, genuinely just to help. But that is what I have for you for June. I do hope you have a beautiful month. Congratulations on having Venus in your sign for an extended stay, as if you didn't need to glow anymore. I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to June 2023. So Virgo, let's start with the 1st of June. Jupiter is going to be conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which is your 9th house of higher education, higher awareness, your philosophy, your view of the world, your higher education, and also your traveling. So this might be a case of Virgo where you decide around the 1st that you're going to take a trip, you're going to take a voyage, you're going to go on an adventure. This might also be the time when you unite yourself with destined mentors, teachers. You might find that you're getting into a certain university, a certain college that you really wanted to get into, or you might be realigned with one that is going to fit your soul's purpose and align you with your destiny somehow. It feels like for a lot of you this could be a destined new teacher, new mentor, or a new direction when it comes to your, religious belief systems, or perhaps your philosophical viewpoints, or perhaps your higher education in general. So some of you might be leaning in a new direction, Virgo. Also on the 4th of June, actually, we have the meetup between your ruler Mercury and Uranus in the same sector. So perhaps you are having some kind of epiphany, some kind of news is coming in, some sort of information is coming to you, Virgo, or you are actually planning or taking a destined trip, or you're on a destined voyage, and it is going to make things very clear of the direction you want to go. And maybe some of you are deciding, actually, I do want to travel the world. Or perhaps you're thinking, actually, I want to go to this college instead, or study this for my degree, or whatever it is that's coming up for you at this time, Virgo. You're being pointed and directed in your soul's growth. But I feel with your ruler Mercury being in the equation with Uranus, you might have an epiphany. You might shock people with your decisions. You might shock people with your information, or shock people with your news, but it's because you seem to be expanding in a new direction. We have a full moon in your family and home sector on the 3rd of the 4th of June. I do have a full video up on this if you want to view that. It's more in depth, but this is bringing illumination, clarity, and insights intuitively to what's going on with your home and your living situation. Some of you might be moving, some of you might be relocating, some of you might be buying a property, investing in a property. Or there could be matters coming up with your home and family, Virgo. And I feel with the trine to Mars being in your 12th house, there's something about this that was behind the scenes or private, and perhaps is coming to light with this full moon in Sagittarius. Now on the 5th of June, Venus is going to be entering your 12th house for a very long time. So it feels, Virgo, that if you're single and you're looking to meet somebody, because Venus is the planet of romance, this might be a summer where you meet somebody in a way that is kind of hidden or behind the scenes. You might have a secret relationship, or you might keep your relationship more private if you meet somebody. With it being in the 12th house, you could meet someone in a random place like a hospital or a prison, or you could meet someone in a spiritual sense, like you could be connecting with someone in the 3D, connecting with someone that's not in the 3D, connecting someone spiritually, telepathically, is the way this could be working for you, Virgo. But I also feel like you're trying to bring more beauty to your healing experience. So you're perhaps, when it comes to a mental health perspective, Virgo, perhaps you're actually investing in things that are kind of aesthetic in a wellness sense. So I'm not saying you're going to go all Gwyneth Paltrow on us, but it's kind of like you're doing, although I actually quite like Gwyneth Paltrow, it's kind of like you're going into this sense of bringing beauty to your healing journey. So whether that is that, say for example, you were going into hospital for an operation, I'm not saying you will, but say you were, I feel like you would want to have fine silk pajamas, or you would want a really beautiful looking eye mask, or really beautiful slippers, or something like that. It's like you're bringing beauty into, sleeping. So this could be a time when you invest in really nice pajamas, or perhaps you could be bringing, you could be getting the most beautiful yoga mat, or you could be bringing beauty and refinement into your healing journey. Whatever way that looks, it's something that is going to be a theme going forward. Or you might be finding that when it comes to a mental health perspective, you're perhaps healing through art therapy. This makes more sense. Healing through art therapy, or something like that, like through painting or music therapy, or something of that nature. Virgo could be something you're looking into as well in June. Pluto's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, which is your 5th house, on the 11th. So you're kind of doing a final clear out when it comes to your creativity. When it comes to what makes you happy, when it comes to what gives you energy, what makes you feel joy, what makes you feel passion. If there's a fear or a phobia, or there's something psychologically going on that is perhaps hindering you romantically, or perhaps hindering you artistically, or just the feeling of joy, the feeling of having fun, Pluto retrograding back in here, Capricorn is a harmonious energy with you, so it might be supporting you and getting to the root of that and helping you work through it. Or if there's been issues coming up with a child, this might be a bit of a way in which you start to navigate that more from a psychological perspective, or perhaps even an occult perspective. You know, maybe you're consulting an astrologer about your love life, or you're consulting an astrologer about your art or your creativity or something like that. Mercury is going to be going into Gemini on the 11th. So for you, Virgo, this is very career based. Mercury is your ruler. You're putting your energy and your intentions into your career. The sun will be there until the 21st. We do have a new moon in your career sector on the 18th. Obviously, with it being a new moon, we like to set intentions. We like to manifest in a lot of cases. People like to set their intentions, what they want to call into their life, what they want to create in their life with the new moon. And it being in the 10th house, it usually is a good time to set career intentions, to set goals, to set public intentions, to craft your public image or something like that. But it's squaring Neptune in your 7th house. So it's like you're trying to do this, but you're getting conflicting or confusing messages from what other people want from you or expect from you. And perhaps you feel like there's just one other person, or the idea of a person, you know, a phantom in your mind telling you, but you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be doing that. And it's confusing you. Listen to your intuition when it comes to the new directions you're going in career-wise. If you are starting a new job around this time, be very wary of instantly getting into a relationship or pursuing a relationship, because it might not be something that is as it seems. Or if you are setting a new goal for yourself, you could have a partner or a relationship that is a bit confused by what you're doing, or they're not totally on board, or they might actually not know what it means. So say you're starting a new job in a certain place, they might not necessarily be aware or be paying attention to what that is going to mean for your relationship. So just be careful of that, you know, clear cut communication as much as you can, Virgo. Saturn is going to go retrograde in Pisces on the 17th, so you're revisiting your commitments with relationships and your relationship to commitment in relationships. You're revisiting and rethinking these. And if you are in a relationship from the 30th, there's a little bit of a sobering effect when Neptune goes retrograde and the rose-tinted glasses come off. So if there's something that you guys have been skirting over, or you've been dating a person, you might change your mind on them. You might not, though. It just depends on your individual chart, but things might be a little bit less cutesy, fantasy with Neptune going retrograde. It can be taking off the rose-tinted glasses. Now, do watch for power struggles on the 5th of June. With Venus in your 12th house, opposite Pluto in your 6th, it could be to do with a colleague, a work, or an employee, someone related to your everyday work life or your routine. Could be kind of a bit controlling or a bit intense, and this might be triggering you a little bit, or you might be feeling a bit insecure about it. So just watch for that around the 5th. And with the new moon squaring Neptune, the sun squaring Neptune, and your ruler Mercury squaring Neptune, from about the 17th to the 26th, there's a lot of mixed messages and confusing energy. Just be patient, just let it dissipate, and do trust your intuition navigating it, especially if it comes to, you know, a one-on-one relationship in your life that's important to you and your career. Or a business partnership and your career. You know, your goals might not necessarily be aligned because you're not understanding each other. Virgo, it's just something to watch out for. There's a bit of miscommunication from the middle toward the end of June. This will dissipate. We are now out of Mercury shadow and things like that. So just pay attention. Things are not necessarily all as they seem. Fact check, and also remain flexible. It's mutable square. Remain flexible. But that's what I have for you, Virgo. I hope you have a beautiful June, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, welcome to June. So Libra, 1st of June, right off the bat, we have Jupiter and the North Node conjunct in Taurus. So this is going to bring fated with the North Node, blessed with Jupiter, fated, blessed, new paths, new opportunities, new people in your life for your soul's growth. Now this could be something that is perhaps a joint financial relationship. This could be perhaps if you're married or in a relationship where you share your finances, your partner is getting a destined opportunity where they're going to make more money that's going to benefit you. Or perhaps you're getting a mortgage or a loan that's going to set you up with your dream home or your dream business. And this is something that is perhaps just falling in your lap more than anything, Libra. But I will say, with it being Jupiter, and Jupiter ruling your 3rd house, but also your 6th house, this could be coming from someone that is in your everyday life, so to speak, helping you align with this. Or you're getting information or a conversation that is bringing this towards your attention, or it's an idea, or it's something that is happening in your everyday life, like on your commute. Perhaps you're getting a really good idea, or you're getting news or something like that. We have a Mercury-Uranus conjunction in the same sector around the time of the full moon in Sagittarius. I do have a video on that up. But with that conjunction, it's looking like there could be unexpected news relating to your joint finances, or perhaps your mortgage, or your, whatever your financial connections are to somebody else. Not necessarily the money that you make, but the way you benefit financially through a person, an institution, or whatever it is. This could be that there's something unexpected or surprising comes up in terms of news. Perhaps you realize, for example, that you come into an inheritance of a distant relative you've never met before. Something like that. There's a full moon in Sagittarius for you. That's your third house. You're getting illumination and clarity when it comes to a sibling, a neighbour, someone in your extended family. This could also be when it comes to perhaps your car. Perhaps you're figuring out what's actually wrong with your car, or you're getting a new car. You're selling a car. You could be selling something with a full moon in the third, but this can also be a really important conversation, Libra, especially because we have Mars in your 11th house. Perhaps this is the energy you've been putting into social networking, or connecting with people online, or connecting with friends, and you're finally getting a message which is bringing you clarity on a matter you've been pursuing. Venus, your ruler, is going to enter Leo on the 5th. That's your 11th house, and it's going to be there right through the summertime. If you're in the northern hemisphere, I should have specified that, but Venus is going to be there for the whole summer, and this is bringing a lot of beauty to your friendships, to your social relationships, to networking, to parties, perhaps social events, to your social media following, Libra. So if you're on social media, perhaps you're putting your business on there, or you're putting yourself out there as an influencer. I feel like Libra is a big sign for influencers from what I've observed. But say you're putting yourself out there, your face is your business or something like that, you're going to get a lot of attention this summer for sure. And you're probably also going to have really nice time with your friends. You're going to have nice time socially, at least in June, because Venus will go retrograde, and in some cases this can bring a little bit of not so beautiful parts to your friendship sector or something like that. But I feel like for June at least, you're going to be really enjoying your friends, particularly your female friends, or perhaps, you're getting a lot of love on social media, a lot of love online, or you're feeling a lot of beauty in the dreams and the goals you're pursuing. Perhaps you're going to become a makeup artist or a fashion designer or something like that this summer. You're going to learn how to sew, to make your own clothes, whatever it is. Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn on the 11th. For you, this is retrograding back into your 4th house. So the way that I'm seeing this, Libra, is that if there's anything you need to clear out in your home, items you no longer need in your home, clutter in your home, you're probably going to go into decluttering mode completely. And you might also be addressing or doing some shadow work when it comes to your emotional foundations in the past. Mercury is going to enter Gemini on the 11th, and for you, Libra, this is, of course, your 9th house, so you might be feeling more stimulated when it comes to learning, taking a higher course, studying at university, or studying different cultures, or through traveling. Saturn is going to go retrograde on the 17th in Pisces, which for you is your 6th house. You're revisiting your work commitments, your routine commitments, your health commitments, your diet, your exercise regimen, for etc. You're revisiting what can you and what can you not commit to. What do you need to take more seriously? What do you need to drop? Neptune's going to retrograde there as well, so you might suddenly start to see colleagues or employees a bit more clearly if you were putting them on a pedestal. We do have a new moon in Gemini on the 18th, which is giving me the sense, Libra, that perhaps you really want to plan a destined trip, perhaps you really want to plan a vacation, but you're a bit confused with work, maybe getting the time off, maybe you're a bit confused about what an employee is doing or a colleague is doing. There's a bit of confusion going on when it comes to perhaps taking a holiday, a vacation, or studying something and how that's going to fit into your routine. You're not entirely sure. There's a lot of miscommunication, Libra, honestly, going on between your travel arrangements, your adventure, your studying, and then your work, your day-to-day life, and perhaps even your health. So maybe you have something going on health-wise and you're thinking, can I take this trip or not? There's a bit of confusion back and forth from about the 17th to the 20, let me see what date I have down here, to about the 26th, 27th. You might be a little confused. Pay attention to the 26th because Mars in Leo is going to square Uranus in Taurus, and that's quite abrasive, quite eruptive. You might find a partner is lashing out in some way or another, or there could be something unpredictable with a partner's finances, or it could be that perhaps you have a friend, Libra, who is acting a bit erratically or a bit strange, and you realize they actually have something perhaps going on when it comes to a psychological perspective. Like you're doing sort of a psychological assessment of why is this person being that way. But there could be a bit of anger. People are lashing out more around that time. So just forewarned is forearmed. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying that it's a good day to watch out for, to prevent yourself with unnecessary harm effectively. So the sun enters Cancer on the 21st. This is going to light up your career zone, Libra. So you're going to be very focused on your career, very focused on making a name for yourself, your goals, your public image, etc. But that is what I have for you for June, Libra. I hope you have a good one, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Scorpio, welcome to June. So Scorpio, let's kick off with the 1st of June. There is a rare meetup between Jupiter and the North Node. Now this is happening in your partnership sector. So this is your relationship house. You're going to be connecting with people that are going to help you fulfill your soul's purpose, grow, expand your life. There's going to be new people entering your life, fated people entering your life, perhaps fated romantic relationships or best friends or business partnerships who are going to help you grow and expand. This is quite an exciting one because I feel like whatever it is or whoever it is, it's going to help you grow your confidence. And it's also going to help you grow when it comes to happiness. So do pay attention to the relationships that you're forming at this time. They're going to help you grow and expand, and they're probably a big part of your soul's growth going forward, Scorpio. So we have, as well as that, a Mercury-Uranus conjunction happening in your 7th house of relationships. So if you're in a relationship, this is looking like your partner might surprise you. There might be something unexpected comes up that you didn't see coming from them. I do think with the co-presence to Jupiter, I'm hoping these are going to be lucky and positive surprises, that it feels like there might be shocks or a bit of a plot twist when it comes to your relationship in your life, or maybe in a communication sense. It might tell you something you didn't expect, or you might have a really insightful or enlightening conversation, or even just a key, if you're single, you might have, you might hear from an old person in your life, an old ex or an old business partner or something like that, or someone from your past, or it might be that you get clarity and an insight as to what you need to do with your relationship life going forward. There's a full moon in your 2nd house on the 3rd, 4th of June, depending on where you are. I do have a video up on this you can watch for more insight, but this full moon is perhaps bringing illumination and clarity to your finances, Scorpio. Venus is going to enter your 10th house in the 5th. Okay, so this is going to be a summer of bringing more beauty and bringing more abundance into your career, Scorpio. Now, we already have Mars there this month. So you're putting a lot of energy, a lot of drive into your career or your goals, or your public image, being on the public stage, being the center of attention is where, with Mars being your ruler, you're putting yourself out there, you're allowing yourself to be seen, and you're really putting yourself into maybe more of a dominant position. Some of you with Venus being there, you could be getting a promotion, you could be getting a raise, you could be in the spotlight more, and you could be putting a bit more care and a bit more beauty and grace and finesse into your public image or your career. You could be getting more beautiful clothes for work, or you could be investing in plants for your workspace or something like that. With it being Venus, I feel like you're just bringing this beautiful, harmonious, loving energy to your public life, your public persona, but also just attracting people in work. Perhaps if you go into a relationship or you meet somebody, Scorpio, it may be through the workplace or connected to your career, or it could be someone who's very, driven in their own career. Now, Venus will go retrograde. We will have a video up on that. But for now, with June, this is bringing a lot of beauty into your 10th house. Your ruler Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn, which is for you your 3rd house of communication, of siblings, of neighbours, and also of transportation. So there might be a final clear out when it comes to some baggage or some psychological pain bodies attached to siblings, attached to neighbours, attached to communication, the way you speak, your voice, your communication style, for example. You might be having a bit of a clear out here and thinking, are these thoughts helpful? Is this coming from somewhere else? You're doing a bit of a psychological dig. With Pluto, we're always trying to, whittle things down to the most authentic for ourselves, because it is your ruler as well. I feel like you're really considering, Are you using your real voice? Because there's sometimes we can actually find that we change our voice depending on who we're around. And with Pluto going back into Capricorn, you might start to think, why? Why is my voice more infantile when I'm talking to this person? Is it because I don't want them to be angry at me? Why do I talk so quietly amongst these people? You know, your relationship with communication, do you speak up for yourself? Do you articulate your needs, your boundaries, that kind of thing? This is where you're having a bit of a revisiting and a final clear out with Pluto being in Capricorn again. Mercury is going to enter your 8th house as well on the 11th. So when it comes to conversations, you're going to want to talk about astrology. You're going to want to talk about the taboo. You're going to want to talk about the occult. You're going to want to talk about so many things that I can't mention on YouTube because it'll end up being demonetized. But you know what I mean? The things that you're usually quite interested in, Scorpio, because it is the 8th house and that's the Scorpio house. So you're probably going to want to talk about conspiracy theories. You want to get to the nitty gritty in conversations. You want to sort of talk about the deep stuff. You don't want to talk about the trivial stuff. Even though with Mercury and Gemini, everyone else may want to talk about, you know, celebrity gossip, soap operas, facts. You want to talk about the dark stuff. So maybe talk to other Scorpios and Scorpio risings until Mercury goes into Cancer on the 26th. Saturn and Neptune both go retrograde in your 5th house this month. So with Saturn going retrograde in your 5th house, you're revisiting your commitment to your creativity, your art. If you're artistic, your creativity could be something that you're perhaps, you know, really rethinking. You're like, is this going to work? You know, say you're releasing an album. You're like, is this going to work? Is that going to work? Can we commit to this? Do we need to maybe scale back on this and add more on this? You're taking it very seriously, but you're also revisiting what you have been doing or working on. And in terms of your relationship to fun, to pleasure, you're maybe rethinking your commitment to that. Are you actually committed to having fun in your life, Scorpio? It's important. Or your commitments regarding your children. These are things where you're going to reflect and rethink and maybe approach it from a different level of understanding mentally, as Saturn rules your 3rd. So pay attention to that, Scorpio. Neptune also retrogrades on the 30th in your 5th house. So if you've been dating someone or interested in someone romantically, if they're not actually as good a catch as you think they are, your rose-tinted glasses might come off. You might see them a bit objectively, and it might not hurt to take them off the pedestal. But if it's not romantic, it could be creatively. You could think that this project has been going really well. Neptune goes retrograde and you think, actually, this is a bit far-fetched or something like that, or this is a bit elusive or a bit too fantastical or out there or whatever it is. You're just revisiting it and looking at it a bit differently. We have a new moon in your 8th house on the 18th, but I will say it is squaring your Neptune in your 5th house. So it kind of feels like if you have a new beginning for you, Scorpio, where perhaps there's a new start when it comes to your joint finances, so where you benefit financially from someone else, whether that's the government, a spouse. If there's a new beginning happening financially for you, there seems to be a bit of confusion when it comes to perhaps children or perhaps perhaps if it's a bit of a gamble with the 5th house. It could also be that if it's psychologically a new start, you're maybe wanting to start seeing a particular therapist. You might actually find that this person isn't necessarily who they say they are. And I don't mean that in a scary way necessarily, but I just mean that they might not necessarily be who you're looking for, because there's a lot of confusion happening at that new moon. So any new beginning is going to have an air of fogginess with the square to Neptune. So with the sun being in Gemini squaring Neptune and Pisces, the sun for you rules your professional life as well, your goals, people on authority. I just feel like there's a little bit of confusion going on as to what the goal is here, what the agenda is here, where this is meant to be going. There just is a bit of confusion in these new directions. Do trust your intuition, because from the 17th to about the 26th, I will say there's a lot of confusing back and forth when it comes to perhaps joint financial endeavors, psychological matters, and also how you enjoy your life effectively, how you have fun. You're revisiting how you have fun and you're recommitting to it. What makes you happy, Scorpio, is a big deal. There's a bit of a power struggle going on the 5th of June. Venus is in your 10th house of careers, so maybe a female in the workplace or a female in a position of authority. There's a bit of an opposition going on between that and your home life, with Pluto being in the 4th house still at that point. So it could be that perhaps someone at work is maybe threatening someone at home, or perhaps there is a case of your professional image, the aesthetic you're trying to put out there is maybe triggering someone in your family, or perhaps you're wanting to invest more, Scorpio, in your career. You're doing very well in your career, and this is, as I say, perhaps upsetting someone at home or in your family because they have something unresolved psychologically. With Pluto, it's usually that they're dealing with something or they have their shadow coming up. So you might find your blessings and your successes make someone else a bit jealous potentially in your household, or something like that, or something that you're putting out for the world to see might make someone a little bit jealous or a little bit, they might have an intense reaction, which really has nothing to do with you. A tricky day, the 26th of June, Mars in your 10th house is squaring Uranus in your relationship sector. Again, do be careful when it comes to a relationship, a key relationship in your life, and your public image, the work, the drive, the energy you're putting into your career, and perhaps someone at home or in your relationship life acting a bit unpredictably about it. So there could be a bit of a clash going on there, Scorpio. I feel like with Mars being your ruler, in a traditional sense, you're really driving forward with something, really driving forward with a goal, and this seems to perhaps out of the blue upset a partner or a relationship, maybe a business partner potentially, maybe a spouse, maybe a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a best friend, but there could be a bit of unpredictability and a bit of a clash, or you could just find someone who comes across as being very unpredictable and a bit... if there's a confrontation, it could escalate quite quickly. So do pay attention to that. I've said it for all the signs. It's not just you, but because you're a fixed sign, it is quite important for you as well, Scorpio. But that is what I have for you for June. I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to June. So Sagittarius, we have a full moon in your sign. This is your highlight of June because this full moon is pretty nice. It's adventurous, and you're getting this illumination of your relationship to yourself, Sagittarius. And it's cute because Mars is in your 9th house. Now you are the sign associated with the 9th house. So Mars being there is like what you're putting into your belief system, the energy you're putting into traveling, to expanding your knowledge, to studying, is really lighting you up, and it's putting you in the spotlight and making you the center of attention. Worth noting, you can be a bit more emotional at this time too, so just pay attention to that. You could perhaps, with the square to Saturn being in your 4th house, feel a little bit like you're trying to shine, and perhaps your home situation is dampening the mood a little bit, and maybe you need to seek pastures new and go on a bit of a trip, maybe a solo trip, Sagittarius, or seek a bit of adventure, or expand your mind outside of your current confinement. Where your current confinement environment, wherever you are, you might need a little bit of a bit of a break, Sagittarius, a bit of a journey. On the 1st, Jupiter is conjunct the North Node. Now, Jupiter is your ruler, so this is always significant for you. And you might be finding that when it comes to your work, when it comes to your day-to-day routine, there's new opportunities. You could find that you're just going about your day-to-day work, and there's a destined opportunity for you, or someone enters the workplace that is going to help you grow and help you expand, and perhaps act as a teacher or a mentor, Sagittarius, or maybe even you get an opportunity to travel when it comes to your everyday work or your routine. Venus is entering Leo for the whole summer. So this is good because Venus is a benefic and Leo is a fire sign. So you're getting harmonious impact from Venus being in Leo. And for you, again, this is to do with traveling, to do with adventure, to do with study. You're going to be bringing beauty to this area, particularly in June. So if you've travel plans, you might find that you are really enjoying them. You get a really beautiful hotel, or you get a really beautiful view from your window, or you meet really beautiful people, or you even find love when you're traveling, or at university or college. Maybe you're having a really good time there, Sagittarius. And do bear in mind Mars is there. And Mars on the 26th of June, do watch for this, because when it comes to your traveling, your study, the energy you're putting into these things, there's a square from Uranus in your 6th house. It's almost as if you're, traveling, it could be that perhaps you're posting it online and a colleague says something that upsets you or irritates you or angers you, or you're trying to plan or put energy into a trip and someone you work with is making it difficult for you or something like that. Or you may be having unpredictable stuff going on with your health and you're wondering, should I plan this trip? Should I go forward with it, Sagittarius? But I do think with Venus being there for June, there's going to be a lot of beauty coming to traveling, to expanding, and to seeking adventures or studying. Pluto is backtracking into Capricorn on the 11th. So for you, this is your second house. It's a final clear out. You're looking at your finances, your money, your confidence from a psychological perspective. What needs to change here? What do I need to get rid of? What's no longer serving me? Mercury goes into your 7th house of relationships. So the sun is there until the 21st. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships, and now it's transiting your 7th house. Great time for communication with a partner or a potential partner or a best friend. Great time for conversations, getting things cleared out, understanding things, except for the fact that on the 25th of June, Mercury is going to square Neptune in your 4th house. When it comes to your relationship matter, perhaps there is some sort of miscommunication when it comes to your living situation or your home or your family or something with the house. Do watch for that day for a miscommunication with your partner and your home and family, or a best friend and their family, or something like that. Those two areas of life are coming into a bit of a clash. Go with the flow, remain open, remain flexible to the misunderstandings. They do happen, and it's not all necessarily so clear. There is a new moon in your partnership sector on the 18th. If you are beginning a new partnership or a new chapter in a relationship, bear in mind again that if there's something about a living situation or a family situation or a home situation, there's something confusing about that. It might be that you are beginning a relationship and you don't realize that they come from a very, very different neck of the woods to you, for example. I know it's a really odd thing to pick as an example, but there's maybe you don't know where they actually live. There's confusion about where they actually live. Say you meet somebody and they say they're in one place, but they maybe are moving around a lot and you don't know. There's confusion regarding the home situation, the living situation. And if you have a new chapter in your relationship where you're moving in together, there could be some things to iron out in the 2 weeks that follow. Sagittarius, there's a new beginning, a new chapter in your relationship sector, but it is kind of confusing, and the confusion is coming from your living situation by the looks of things. Saturn is going to retrograde in your sector of your living situation, so you're revisiting your commitments when it comes to your home, your living situation, buying a property, expanding a property, your commitments to family. You're revisiting how you're approaching them. Saturn rules your 2nd house. You're reapproaching your values towards what you want in a home, what you want in your family. And with Neptune going retrograde there, when it comes to maybe buying or selling a home, you're taking off your rose-tinted glasses. Maybe you've been, looking for your dream home, but your standards have been somewhat unrealistic for the budget. And you're taking off the glasses and saying, actually, I don't really need the swimming pool on the roof. You're kind of going down that. You're like, well, maybe I don't really need that. Maybe I don't really need 6 ponies in the kitchen. Like, that's kind of where you're going. You're just like, actually, do you know what? I'm going to be a bit more realistic here, if that's realistic for you. Venus is opposite Pluto on the 5th. This one's an interesting one because Venus is going to be in Leo. Pluto is still going to be in Aquarius at that point. So with Pluto being in Aquarius for you, Sagittarius, this is to do with communication, your siblings. There could be a power struggle with your siblings, with your neighbors, when it comes to perhaps your viewpoints religiously, your beliefs in the world, or perhaps your travel plans even. There seems to be a clash between these two things happening for you, Sagittarius. Venus does rule your friendships. So perhaps it's also coming from, a friend that believes a certain thing is clashing with your logic and you're feeling a bit mentally irritated or triggered by their viewpoint potentially. Do watch out for the 26th of June. There's a square between Mars in your 9th house and Uranus in your 6th. I think I've mentioned this for you, but that is a day where there's a bit of unpredictable energy. People could be a bit more angry, a bit more irritable and lash out, and these things can escalate with Uranus. Sagittarius, that's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think, and I hope you have a beautiful June. Bye. Hi Capricorn, welcome to June. Capricorn, right off the bat, Jupiter conjunct the North Node in Taurus. This is happening in your 5th house. This is bringing blessed and destined new pathways, new opportunities when it comes to love, romance, creativity, artistic endeavors, and perhaps your children. So this could be a pregnancy. This could be something big coming up with your child. This could be a new romance on the horizon for you, or perhaps this could be a new creative endeavor, especially if you are an artist. This can be a beautiful new path for you. There's a Mercury-Uranus conjunction a few days after, during the full moon in Sagittarius in your 5th house. This can be an unexpected pregnancy announcement, an unexpected pregnancy in general. This could be love at first sight with someone. This can be a romantic message you didn't expect. And this can be a creative idea that is just genius, Capricorn, if you are a creative. I love this for the Capricorn creatives, to be honest, but full moon in Sagittarius in the 3rd or the 4th. This is going to be a full moon that perhaps has you a little bit more in a space of retreat. You want to heal, you want to sleep more, nap more, spend some time in solitude to contemplate the clarity coming to you from your unconscious. The subconscious is rising when the full moon is in the 12th. You're becoming very aware, you're very psychic, you're very tapped in, and it's an energy that's very good for healing and shadow work. You've Mars in the 8th house, you're putting a lot of work into healing, facing the shadow. It's trine this full moon, so that work is paying off and helping you heal effectively. Pluto is going back into your sign on the 11th, and when it comes to your relationship with yourself, your sense of autonomy, your personal power, your relationship to boundaries, taking care of yourself, feeling in charge of your destiny, it feels as though you're going to be clearing out some stuff in terms of how you relate to yourself, how you identify, the labels you prescribe to yourself and things like that. You're doing a final clear out and you're saying, actually, I don't want to consider myself that way anymore. Actually, I don't want to be this person anymore. Or actually, look how far I've grown, but this thread is still hanging on and needs to be chopped off. That's the kind of energy I'm getting. It's like there's final threads of the work you've been doing and you're leaning more into what you need to do work-wise to be more authentic effectively. Mercury enters Gemini on the 11th. So for you, Capricorn, this is kind of looking as though perhaps when it comes to your work, your everyday work, you're needing to communicate a lot more, perhaps with your employees if you have them, your colleagues if you have them, and perhaps you're needing to talk more about what's going on with you health-wise. If there's something that comes up in terms of your physical health, it's a good time to discuss it with somebody. Saturn and Neptune are both going retrograde in Pisces. For you, that's your 3rd house. Saturn retrograde in Pisces from the 17th. You're revisiting your commitments that you have with your siblings, that you have with your neighbours, or you have with communication, with writing. Perhaps you're realising if you want to write that book, you're going to need to do it more than once every couple of months. Neptune retrograde in Pisces, you're taking off your rose-tinted glasses, maybe when it comes to a neighbour or a sibling or someone in your environment, or your, relationship to communication. Maybe you're starting to think, actually, I need to be a bit more direct with what I'm saying rather than poetic necessarily, Capricorn. That is one way that could manifest for you. There's a new moon in your work sector on the 18th, so this could be a new job for some of you, but it's a bit confusing. It's like maybe some stuff gets lost in the post, or maybe there's terms that aren't necessarily clear. It's squaring Neptune. From the 17th till about the 26th, there's a lot of confusion going on when it comes to your everyday work, your routines, maybe even your gym, how you're looking after your physical health, and your 3rd house of communication. That also rules travel and things like that, from cars, like your commute, but also facts. So it's kind of like when it comes to your health, maybe, or when it comes to your work, Capricorn, there's a bit of confusion on the details, and it might be going towards the very end of June where things start to become more clear. It might actually be until the full moon in your sign where things are not necessarily completely clear for you. There's a Venus-Pluto opposition on the 5th. Do pay attention to this because Venus will be entering on the 5th your 8th house. And so you're looking to find a lot of beauty in the mysterious and the taboo and the occult. Perhaps you're getting a really beautiful tarot deck at this time. Your relationship to psychology is something where I think you're trying to find more beauty in. You're trying to find more beauty in the mysteries of life. And this could be that in your relationships, there's a lot more intimacy. But when Venus enters the 8th house, it immediately opposes Pluto, which at that time will still be in Aquarius, your 2nd house of values. So perhaps there's something to be negotiated or balanced out, or a bit of a power struggle when it comes to your finances versus a partner's, for example. Or perhaps, Capricorn, there is something coming up when it comes to your relationship to intimacy versus someone else's values, if that makes sense. Also, Capricorn, on the 21st, the sun enters your 7th house, which means you'll be lit up by your relationships, your partnerships, be that spending more time with your romantic partner or your best friend, or perhaps investing more energy, Capricorn, into your business partners. The sun rules your 8th house, so I feel like when it comes to your relationships, you're perhaps wanting to go that little bit deeper and merge a bit closer. And if you are looking for love, perhaps you're going to find someone with Venus being in your 8th house for so long, someone who's kind of mysterious, someone who's maybe into the occult, maybe someone who is quite deep in nature. Capricorn. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aquarius, welcome to June 2023. So Aquarius, the Jupiter North Node conjunction on the 1st is happening in your 4th house of home, family and property matters. It feels like there's new opportunities, new paths opening up to you when it comes to your living situation, when it comes to your family. Perhaps this is going to be a time when you start to move, you get your dream home, you sell a property, you buy a property, perhaps you have new destined events happening in your family might be expanding, or you might be expanding your home or putting a lot of energy and attention into growing your home in a way that feels better for you. It makes you feel connected, Aquarius, especially when it comes to your vision of the future, your dreams, your wishes, because Jupiter rules your 11th house. We do have a Mercury-Uranus conjunction happening there though on the 4th, so I feel like there could be unexpected news from a family member or pertaining to a home situation, a property situation, where things might actually have to move quite quick. You might intuitively know what this is already. The full moon in Sagittarius, Aquarius, is highlighting your friendship sector. So they're in the spotlight at this time. Your social life is in the spotlight. You might be going out with a group of friends who you have similar ideals, similar visions for the future. You might be doing something charitable around this time. And you might find you're bonding with someone in particular, perhaps your partner, when it comes to a charitable endeavor or a goal for the future, or you and your partner are putting a lot of energy into making some kind of wish or dream come true, or you're bonding with someone very closely in a one-on-one level, and you guys are perhaps bringing something into fruition together in terms of a dream, an aspiration, or a charitable endeavor. Now Aquarius, for you, Venus enters your 7th house on the 5th, and it'll be there all summer, bringing beauty and refinement to your relationship sector. If you're single, it's very likely that you could find somebody this summer, but you might also just as equally reconnect with someone. Now I will go into the Venus retrograde video about this, but for June, your chances of finding love or meeting someone or enjoying your relationship, if you're already in one, are very high. To watch out though, for the 26th, when Mars in your relationship sector squares Uranus in your 4th. Your spouse, if you have one, may fight with your family. There might be a family disagreement with a partner and a family member, or a disagreement with a partner about a living situation. Just watch out for that. Pluto is going back into Capricorn. It's leaving your sign in the 11th. And when Pluto goes back into Capricorn, it's like a final clear out for you. Unconsciously, it's like you're maybe facing some fears you didn't know you had. You're facing the shadow of yourself. You're facing the stuff you didn't know was down there effectively. Your dreams might be a bit weird around the 11th, Aquarius. Do watch for that. For you, Mercury is entering your 5th house on the 11th, which is bringing very passionate conversations, great conversations with your children if you have them. There might be news, messages coming into you from a romantic prospect. If you're single, if you're dating, you might find a lot of people connecting with you, talking to you, flirting with you with the 5th house. And if you're a writer, this might be a really great time for your writing practice. Saturn and Neptune are both going retrograde for you in your 2nd house of income and finances. So Aquarius, the way this is looking for you is that I feel like you're revisiting your financial commitments, what you're paying your money into, what your bills are, what you're paying for, your relationship to money. You're really revisiting it, and maybe even reconsidering why you spend the way you spend. You might think, is this coming from somewhere? Is this a dynamic playing out in my life? Is this some sort of psychological thing? And I know that I stress that a lot in astrology, but I do think there are times we can have more insightful work done than others. And with Saturn retrograde in your 2nd house, you're rethinking your finances, but Saturn rules your 12th of the unconscious. So you're doing it from the sense of, what are the leaks here? What are the limiting beliefs? What's the self-sabotage I'm doing financially on myself? New moon in your 5th house on the 18th. This could be a time when you maybe, if you're beginning to date someone, just be a bit cautious because it's squaring Neptune. Neptune's incredibly romantic, but Neptune squaring this new moon means you're not entirely sure what's going on. It's a bit confusing, so just be careful of that. Aquarius, if you are dating someone new, if you're doing something artistic, just be mindful of maybe spending so much money on it that you don't realize, or you maybe are taking up a hobby and you don't realize how much it's going to cost. So just pay attention to that. In fact, from the 17th to the 26th, it's a bit confusing of a time period. We don't have all the facts. We don't have all the understanding. Aquarius. Another date to mention, 5th of June, while Pluto is still in your sign, Venus in your 7th house opposes it. So this might be a bit of a power struggle with a romantic partner, particularly a spouse, a key relationship in your life. You might have a power struggle over something, perhaps to do with your work life, or perhaps even to do for you with their travel plans or their studies or something like that, or their higher perspectives or religious perspectives maybe. There could just be a bit of a clash and it could be a bit intense, Aquarius. But that's what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful June, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to your June 2023 horoscope. So Pisces, I have lost the footage, so I'm having to use just my voice on this. I hope you don't mind. But there's a lot in store this month, Pisces. We have a really exciting full moon happening on the 3rd or the 4th of June, depending on where you are in the world. This full moon is going to be right at the top of your chart in your 10th house, and this is about your public image, your professional status, your social status, your achievements and your goals, Pisces. And, we had a ding. That's never happened before. We've had a ding. And Pisces, this is also going to be supported by Mars. Now, Mars rules your 2nd house of income and your finances. And it's been going through your 6th house of your everyday work and routine. So what it feels like, Pisces, is that the energy and the hard work you've put into the investments that you put into your everyday work and your routine, whether that is that you've been hitting the gym nonstop, whether that is that you've been putting in overtime at your job, or you've been, really dedicating yourself to something, Pisces, it feels as though this full moon is a peak moment of achievement that gives you some sort of recognition, gives you some sort of social status, or perhaps a new title or something like that, Pisces. This is a pretty exciting full moon. I like this full moon particularly for you because it is that social recognition. Now, what I will say, Pisces, is that it is square Saturn in your 1st house, and this is potentially looking like all this recognition might be bringing some more responsibility, and you may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all the responsibility coming your way. So just do make sure that you're taking good time to unwind, particularly as this full moon is of course opposite the sun in your 4th house of home and family. You may be trying to balance your work and career, and this could feel like a peak moment in recognizing what new habits and routines you need to do in order to feel more balanced in those areas. On the 4th of June, there's a Mercury-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, your 3rd house. This could bring unexpected news, exciting conversations, exciting news. Do check your phone that day. That is not a day to be going off social media, to be doing a detox from your phone, because it's likely there could be something exciting coming into your inbox or your text messages, or you could be hearing exciting or unexpected news. There's no point trying to predict what this is, Pisces, because with Uranus conjunctions, typically you can't quite predict it. It has to be unexpected. So although I will say, with Mercury having been in retrograde, you might have a little inkling of this news that comes out of the blue. It might not be so out of the blue, but it might be very insightful and very clear to you, or make things clear where they weren't originally. 5th of June, Venus will go into Leo. Now, I will say for you, because Venus is going to be in Leo for the whole summer, it's not the most exciting place to have it because it's your 6th house, and that can be that, that's the daily grind. It's kind of the routines that we do. It's not particularly exciting for some planet like Venus. It's very, beautiful and pleasurable. But I will say that with Venus going into your 6th house for such a long time, this can be a case whereby in your everyday routines, you're starting to find more beauty. So perhaps that's taking a more beautiful route to work. Perhaps you're going to be driving by the sea in order to get, incorporate more beauty into your daily commute. Or perhaps you're going to be investing in really pretty gym wear, or very high quality active wear for the gym, for your workouts. Perhaps you're going to be making your office space a much prettier place to be, bringing in plants or something like that. With Leo, I feel like it could be quite showy. I don't feel like any of this is necessarily subtle, Pisces. So whatever it is that you're bringing in to make everything more beautiful, with Leo, it's more out there. So whether that is, maybe designer labels for something, or whether that is bright colors or bright patterns, I feel like you are incorporating more of this into your daily life where you maybe wouldn't ordinarily. Now on the 5th, Venus is going to oppose Pluto right off the bat, because Pluto at that time will still be at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So this is your 6th house, 12th house axis. It's very focused on health. And I feel as though with it being Venus in your 6th house opposing Pluto in your 12th, it's almost like perhaps you feel like it's really hard for you at the moment to balance your physical well-being and your mental well-being, your routines effectively. Maybe you feel as though you are dealing with some fears or some overwhelming energy that you can't quite understand with Pluto being in the 12th house. You might just have these, issues sleeping, or this heavy feeling when you're trying to sleep, and this could be making you quite tired in your everyday work. This could also be a bit of a power struggle with a female in work, possibly one who is experiencing mental health issues, because we have Pluto in the 12th and we have Venus ruling women in the 6th. So it could be you trying to balance or dealing with someone who's maybe going through quite a lot at the moment, Pisces, or it could be vice versa, of course. On the 11th, we do have Pluto retrograding in Capricorn. Pluto retrogrades back into your 11th house. Pluto in the 11th house is not so bad really in terms of a transit, but I will say that you probably have been finding since 2008, and I know that that's a very long window, it's a very wide window, but you maybe have been reconsidering what friendships you want to take forward in your life. And if there's been any where you're sort of feeling like they're kind of hanging on, or you're kind of hanging on to them, this might be the time you finally let go. If you realize that the dynamic is unhealthy, if it's riddled with jealousy or paranoia or suspicion or power issues or controlling energies, you might decide to finally let that go. Or if you feel a little bit fearful in terms of the future, you might start to address that, maybe with a mental health professional, maybe with a therapist or a counselor or something like that, Pisces. On the same day, Mercury enters Gemini. Mercury entering Gemini for you, Pisces, with Mercury ruling your 4th house, going through your 4th house. When it comes to family, I feel like there is a bit of a focus here on communication. Maybe you're making more everyday plans with family. Maybe you're planning to see your family more. This month, do watch, because there will be some communication issues. Mercury is going to square Saturn. It's going to square Neptune. So there might be some miscommunications with family. It can feel a little bit Mercury retrograde-y, and it is going to be covering the same area that the Mars retrograde covered at the end of 2022. Going into 2023. So you might be dealing with old conversations about old issues coming up again, or you might be revisiting something, perhaps when it comes to your responsibilities to the family. With Saturn being in your 4th house, all your different responsibilities, maybe, or your stresses, or your newfound maturity might actually cause some problems in communication with family. Perhaps they're not there yet, or perhaps there's just some misunderstandings in terms of what your responsibilities are to them, or for you to balance against family at the moment, Pisces. There is a little bit of tension between the Gemini and Pisces transits in the sky, so do pay attention. It's not just happening to you, but you are a Pisces, so this is going to affect you quite significantly. So stay meditative, make sure that you're taking time for yourself, make sure you're taking time to unwind, because if you're feeling particularly stressed, Pisces, you're going to have to revisit that. Saturn is going to retrograde in your sign on the 17th, and you might be finding that you want to revisit and reassess your commitments in general, Pisces. What are you committed to? How many things have you got on your plate at the moment? It might be with Saturn going retrograde that you realize, actually, I need to give up this thing for my sanity, or actually I need to give up this thing for my mental health, because Saturn does rule your 12th house in traditional astrology. And also your 11th house. So you might want to start giving up certain commitments in your life for the sake of your future and for the sake of your well-being. Neptune is also going to go retrograde in your 1st house on the 30th. So if you've been having some sort of idealistic vision of what you want, you might start to be a little bit more realistic about it. The rose-tinted glasses might come off, or perhaps the illusions come off when it comes to how you're viewing yourself, or perhaps your aesthetic, your style, or your personal wants and wishes. On the 18th, Pisces, we do have a new moon in your 4th house. It is going to be squaring Neptune in your 1st. It feels as though there is a new beginning when it comes to your home and your family life, But with the square to Neptune, there's a bit of confusion and illusion, and there might be trouble for you, Pisces, in asserting boundaries when it comes to perhaps a living situation, a property matter or a home matter. There's a little bit of confusion when it comes to this new start. With new moons in the 4th house, it is good to manifest, set intentions about what we want in terms of property, in terms of home, in terms of living situations. But just know with the square to Neptune, it feels more so, Pisces, that you're not completely sure what you want. So say you're deciding to redecorate, you might be more susceptible to changing your mind every 5 minutes. With it being Neptune, do try to trust your intuition and go with the feeling above all else. I know new moons in Gemini are pretty logical, but do trust your intuition with the square to Neptune. The Sun enters your 5th house on the 21st and Mercury enters there on the 26th. So there's going to be a focus from the 21st onwards, Pisces, on your love life, on your romantic life, on your creative life. So if you're single, you might find that this is a wonderful time to date, to meet people. With the Sun ruling your 6th house and Venus being in your 6th house, you could find romance at work or in your everyday routines or the gym if you're single. And it could also be that if you're in a relationship that you want to take a date during the work days, maybe meet your partner for lunch or maybe go to the gym together or take up some sort of fitness regimen together, Pisces. But yes, that is what I have for you. One date that I want to mention is that on the 28th, the Sun in Cancer is going to trine Saturn in your 1st house, and it feels like you are committing to something creative, Pisces. It feels like you're going to commit to something creative, commit to having more fun, commit to having more joy in your life and bringing more joy to your workspace. This might be a time where perhaps you go out with colleagues and you have a really good time, or you start some sort of a fun activity with people you work with, or maybe you're going to set up some sort of social event or go to some sort of social event linked to work, I want to say, some sort of party linked to work where you feel like, actually I want to do this more, I want to make sure I'm committing to my own happiness, whatever that looks like for you, Pisces. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a wonderful month and I'll talk to you soon.